Frankly, something tells me that this is actually going to be a boring decision type fight, kind of like a pitter patter fight, even though these guys are both big, jacked, middleweights. And that's honestly, I think that's what the play is. I'm kind of giving you the play in that first sentence. I think that the way to go is taking the over 1.5, which I think is a safe bet, and minus 160. And frankly, I don't think it's a bad play to at that point if you're going to take the over. If the fight usually doesn't finish in the first round, the chances of it finishing in the second round goes down. The chance of it finishing in the third round goes down even further, like exponentially. So I think that it's not a bad play to just take plus 150, getting plus odds for this fight to go the distance. I mean, the last fight for Misha went the distance. For last fight for Wellington went the distance. Actually, let's see how many. Actually, if you look, obviously he did get finished by Bruno Silva and Andrew Sanchez. If you look, he does have a pretty decent amount of decisions. And I think that's because he's begun to be a little bit more. Also, Bruno Silva is really damn good. And Andrew Sanchez is solid, but I think he's a little more conservative. But frankly, I just feel like that this is going to be the way that the fight is going to go. I do, if you want to pick a winner, I think Misha Cirkunov is the way to go. And I feel like the play might be Misha by decision, which is, funny because you don't really see this guy winning decisions. Usually he either wins in the first round or gets finished in the first round. I mean, his last break before this decision fight, his last freaking 7, that was the case. He either gets finished or he either finishes someone or gets gassed and gets finished in the first round. But I think since moving down to middleweight, he's become more conservative and realized he's been knocked out too many times. So he needs to, be a little more conservative with the style. And I think it's kind of similar to Wellington. If you look at his fight against Sam Alvey, he's shown to be a little conscious. Again, he's a young guy. He got knocked out back to back in the first round. And I know that Andrew Sanchez knockout was pretty brutal. The Bruno Silva, I didn't get to see it, but I expect that it was probably brutal. And he's a young guy, so he needs to be careful. He has his whole kind of life and career ahead of him. Versus Misha is kind of getting older. He's been in the UFC for a while. I mean, this guy is a bona fide veteran, 3, 6, 10 fights in the UFC. And he's like 35 years old. Now, he looks like he was a gold medalist in the ADCC North American Championships. You can see that he has some nasty submissions. I mean, he submitted Jimmy Crute. He submitted Nikita Krylov. He submitted Ion Cutelaba. Patrick Cummins. I didn't really follow Patrick Cummins, so I don't know who that is. But to be frank, if you look, the caliber of competition that Misha has faced is just leagues ahead of who Wellington has faced. I mean, you're talking about Nikita Krylov, Ion Cutelaba, Volkan Oezdemir. He did lose to him, but still, being in the ring with them. Glover Teixeira. I feel like I've heard of Patrick Cummins. Maybe forgetting. Johnny Walker, Jimmy Crute, Ryan Spam, even Krzysztof Jotko. Krzysztof Jotko is a nice winning streak. He did lose to Sean Strickland pretty decisively, but it wasn't, he got beat every round, but he did put up a fight, and Krzysztof Jotko, again, it kind of made him look bad, but Sean Strickland is a fucking awesome fighter, and the guy is a, amazing fighter. I mean, this guy could be a future champion. I would say that, so, don't take anything away from Krzysztof Jotko with the loss. And even though, it was considered a split decision loss, I do think that, I don't want to say I think, I know I'm sorry. It wasn't a split decision loss. I'm looking at Misha Cirkunov, who had a split decision loss to Krzysztof Jotko. I actually thought that fight could have went either way. I think kind of Jotko pulled it out at the end. So just, that just shows you how good Misha is. This guy, Sean Strickland, beat Krzysztof Jotko unanimously. I didn't want to just confuse anyone. I was going to make that point. Versus Wellington Turman, again, he did have a split. I didn't see the fight. He has split decision to Carl Robertson, who I do think is a solid fighter. But Carl Robertson is on a losing streak. I think he got finished by Brendan Allen. He got finished by Marvin Vittori. Let's just take a look at how he's doing recently. I do think that he's better than he gets credit for, and I do want to see him doing well in the future. But yeah, he's not really doing the best. He did submit Darren Stewart, who's a solid fighter, and he finished Ryan Spann with elbow. So I do think he's a very solid fighter. He's probably gonna. I do think he's gonna. He's just been facing really good guys, and I think he's gonna improve and get better. But I mean, if you look at who he's beaten Marcus Perez, who's no longer in the UFC. And he's beaten Sam Alvey, who's like, I think lost like 8 of his last 10 or something insane like that. And then he got knocked out early against Andrew Sanchez and Bruno Silva. It was a pretty even fight with Andrew Sanchez until he caught him. Keep that in mind. I didn't see the Bruno Silva fight, but I think it was, from what I remember, I think I saw the highlight. I think it was pretty brutal. So, I mean, if you just compare that to Misha Cirkunov, there's no comparison. On the other hand, Misha, I mean, they've both been knocked out quite a few times, but Misha's been knocked out more. And he is a little bit older. Although, I did find, I remember I had seen that Yanni the Greek was saying that statistically that age is a big difference in fights. But so far I haven't been seeing that. I've seen a lot of older guys winning and a lot of younger guys losing. So just keep that in mind that, the big thing is that you're probably, Wellington could be growing in leaps and bounds because he's like 25 years old. You're probably not going to see that from Misha Cirkunov. But if you look at it on paper, he is fought the way higher caliber fighter and he should be the better fighter. So I do see, I think that, again, depending on what you're trying to do, I think almost like I don't want to say a sure bet because there's never a sure bet. I think the over 1.5 is a solid play. My favorite is getting plus 150 for the fight to go to distance. Over 1.5 is not a bad play. This way I feel like, you're getting positive odds. And I do think that, like, okay, if the fight does get finished early, you don't feel bad. But again, I don't see the fight going over 1.5 and then being finished. You know what I mean? So I think if it's going to go over 1.5, it's going to go the distance. But if it goes under 1.5, obviously it's going to go under 1.5. So I think that the play is grabbing the fight to go to distance at plus 150. If you want to pick a direction, I like Misha Cirkunov. If you want to take a money line, it's not bad, minus 135. You take him by decision, plus 400. That's some juicy odds. So if you want to take the more ballsy play, I do like Misha Cirkunov by decision at plus 400. I think it's a solid play. So hope you guys take advantage of that advice. Hope you guys make some money. And thank you again. Please like and subscribe. And I appreciate all your support. Thanks.